In 2019, a man named Kenneth walked into a Bank of America branch in Phoenix, Arizona, holding what he believed was a genuine government-issued gold card. He'd paid $1,200 for it. The card promised him access to a secret Treasury account containing millions of dollars in his name money the government had been hiding from him his entire life. The teller looked at the card, then at Kenneth, then back at the card. "Sir," she said carefully, "this isn't real." Kenneth insisted it was. He'd seen the videos, he'd read the documents. He knew about the secret accounts, and he wasn't alone. By that point, tens of thousands of Americans had already purchased these cards, convinced they were unlocking a financial system that had been concealed from the public for nearly a century. Here's what nobody tells you about the gold card scam. It's not just a scam. It's the symptom of something far more disturbing about how Americans understand their own financial system. And the people behind it, they're still operating today. To understand why anyone would believe in gold cards, you need to understand the mythology they rebuilt on a conspiracy theory called the Strawman Theory, or redemption theory, that has been circulating in American fringe communities since the 1980s. The story goes like this. When you were born, the government created a secret trust account in your name. They used your birth certificate as a bond, allegedly worth millions of dollars, which they've been trading on international markets ever since. But here's the catch: you never got access to that money. Instead, the government created a corporate fiction, a strawman version of you, written in all capital letters on official documents. That's why your name appears in capitals on your driver's license, your social security card, your bills. According to the theory, there's the real you, the flesh and blood human being with natural rights, and then there's the corporate fiction, the legal entity that owes taxes and debts. If you could just figure out the right legal language, the right documents, the right codes, you could access those millions sitting in your secret account. Sounds absurd, right? But here's where it gets interesting. This theory didn't emerge from nowhere. It's a twisted interpretation of real historical events, specifically the abandonment of the gold standard and changes to American monetary policy in the 1930s. When Franklin Roosevelt took the United States off the domestic gold standard in 1933, requiring citizens to surrender gold coins and bullion to the Federal Reserve, it fundamentally altered the relationship between currency and tangible assets. For conspiracy theorists, this became evidence of a grand theft. The government had stolen real wealth from the people and replaced it with worthless paper. Mix in some misunderstood admiralty law, add a dash of sovereign citizen ideology, sprinkle in legitimate grievances about financial complexity and government overreach, and you have the perfect recipe for a scam that sounds just plausible enough to desperate people. And desperate people, America has plenty of those. The gold card scam specifically began appearing around 2015, but its origins trace back to earlier redemption schemes. In the 1990s and early 2000s, promoters sold seminars and instructional materials teaching people how to access their supposed secret accounts using complex paperwork forms called accepted for value documents, elaborate UCC-1 financing statements, and bogus bonded promissory notes. These early schemes largely failed because they were too complicated. You needed to understand pseudo-legal jargon, file paperwork with county clerks, and navigate a labyrinth of bureaucratic processes. Most people gave up before they even tried, but then the internet changed everything. By 2015, YouTube had become a breeding ground for financial conspiracy content. Channels with names like Financial Freedom Movement and Sovereign Solutions began posting slick videos explaining the Strawman Theory with professional graphics and authoritative-sounding narration. The comment sections became echo chambers where believers reinforced each other's convictions. This is when the gold card emerged. Instead of complicated paperwork, promoters offered a simple solution: purchase a gold-colored debit card preloaded with access to your secret Treasury account. The website selling these cards looked legitimate. They had customer testimonials, video confessionals from people claiming they'd successfully paid off mortgages, bought cars, settled credit card debt. They cited legal codes. They used phrases like HJR 190 to House Joint Resolution 192, a real 1933 law that suspended the gold standard domestically, and 12 U.S. C-95, an actual section of the U.S. Code to create an illusion of legal foundation. The pitch was intoxicating. You're not stealing. You're not committing fraud. You're simply accessing money that's already yours, the government owes you. Between 2015 and 2020, an estimated 30,000 to 50,000 Americans purchased some version of these cards. Facebook groups dedicated to redemption swelled to tens of thousands of members. People shared success stories, they posted pictures of paid bills, claimed victories, encouraged others. But here's what they didn't post: the consequences. In March 2018, a woman named Kimberly in Tampa, Florida, tried to use her gold card to buy $2,400 worth of groceries at a Publix supermarket. When the card was declined, she insisted the cashier run it again, then again. She became increasingly agitated, eventually claiming the store was violating her rights by refusing to accept payment from her Treasury account. Police were called. Kimberly was arrested for attempting to defraud a merchant. This wasn't an isolated incident. By 2019, law enforcement agencies across the country were encountering gold card users attempting to make purchases, pay bills, even buy houses. In Ohio, a man tried to use a redemption account to purchase a $300,000 home. In California, a woman attempted to pay her property taxes with a fake Treasury check generated from her supposed secret account. None of it worked, not once, not ever, because here's the truth that promoters never tell buyers: there are no secret Treasury accounts. There never were. The birth certificate bond theory is legally and factually baseless. When you try to use these cards or submit these documents, one of two things happens. Either the transaction is simply declined, or if you persist, you get charged with fraud. The Federal Trade Commission and the FBI began issuing warnings in 2019. They explained in clear terms that the secret account theory had no basis in law, that the cards were worthless, that anyone selling them was committing fraud, and that anyone using them could face criminal charges. But the warnings barely made a dent. Why? Because belief in the system had become identity. In online communities, people who questioned the gold cards were attacked as shills or agents of the corporation. Those who admitted the cards didn't work were told they'd done the process wrong or lacked faith. The psychology of sunk cost kicked in. People who'd spent thousands of dollars couldn't admit they'd been scammed, so they doubled down. The promoters, meanwhile, had an answer for everything. Cards declined? The bank is blocking your access. You need to file additional paperwork. Got arrested? That's the corporation trying to silence you. You're a threat to their system. The more evidence mounted against the scam, the more it was reframed as proof of a cover-up. The consequences for believers have been devastating. Thousands of Americans have criminal records for attempting to use fraudulent instruments to pay debts. Some have served jail time. Financial institutions have blacklisted individuals who attempted to deposit fake Treasury checks. Credit scores have been destroyed. Families have been torn apart by financial ruin and legal troubles. But perhaps the cruelest aspect of the scam is this: many victims were already financially vulnerable. They were drowning in medical debt, student loans, mortgage payments they couldn't afford. The gold card represented hope or way out of an impossible situation. The promoters knew this and exploited it ruthlessly. And those promoters, most have never been prosecuted. Because of how the scam is structured, it's difficult to hold sellers legally accountable. They don't explicitly promise the cards will work. They couch everything in suggestion and implication. They sell educational materials or membership access. They claim they're teaching people about legal remedies, not selling financial instruments. When things go wrong, they blame the beer for not following the process correctly. In 2020, the Department of Justice did manage to prosecute several major promoters. One man in North Carolina received a 6-year sentence for selling redemption scheme materials that generated $7 million in revenue. But for every promoter shut down, 2 more pop up with slightly modified versions of the same scam. Today, in 2026, the gold card scam is still alive. It's evolved, adapted, mutated. Now it appears in TikTok videos, Instagram DMs, encrypted Telegram channels. New variations have emerged: quantum banking cards, NASARA compliance cards, digital asset redemption tokens. Same scam, different packaging, the infrastructure is still there. The believers are still there, and the desperation that makes people vulnerable? That's grown worse, not better. Here's what's truly disturbing about the gold card scam. It's not unique. It's part of a larger pattern of financial fraud that preys on Americans' fundamental distrust of and confusion about the monetary system. Consider cryptocurrency scams. In 2022 alone, Americans lost over $3.3 billion to crypto fraud, often involving promises that sound remarkably similar to gold card pitches. The banks don't want you to know about this. Access wealth the system has been hiding from you. Bypass traditional finance and claim what's yours, or look at multi-level marketing schemes, which generate an estimated $36 billion annually while leaving 99% of participants in financial loss. The pitch: financial freedom, be your own boss, unlock wealth potential. Different mechanism, same exploitation of hope and financial anxiety. The common thread is this: when people don't understand how complex systems actually work, whether that's the Federal Reserve, cryptocurrency, or corporate finance, they become vulnerable to explanations that sound authoritative but are fundamentally false. And America has a financial literacy crisis. According to a 2023 FINRA study, only 57% of Americans could correctly answer basic questions about interest rates, inflation, and risk diversification. We live in the most complex financial system in human history, but we've never properly educated citizens on how it functions. This knowledge gap creates space for scams. When legitimate financial systems seem incomprehensible and rigged, and let's be honest, sometimes they genuinely are complex and skewed toward the wealthy, people become receptive to alternative narratives, even absurd ones. The gold card scam works because it offers a simple explanation for complex problems. You're struggling financially. It's not because of stagnant wages, rising costs, inadequate social safety nets, or bad luck. It's because the government is literally hiding millions of dollars that belong to you. That narrative is false, but it's emotionally satisfying. It converts helplessness into righteous anger. It transforms victims into crusaders. And that's exactly what makes it so dangerous and so persistent. So what do we take away from this? First, financial desperation makes people vulnerable to even absurd scams. The gold card works not because it's convincing to everyone, but because it's convincing to people who desperately need it to be true. As long as Americans face crushing debt, wage stagnation, and financial insecurity, these scams will find victims. Second, complexity is a weapon. Scammers don't need to create systems that make sense, they just need to create systems that sound complicated enough to seem real. The gold card theory is built on misinterpreted legal codes, half-understood monetary history, and bureaucratic language designed to intimidate and confuse. When systems are incomprehensible, people can't easily distinguish between legitimate complexity and fraudulent nonsense. Third, community reinforcement can be more powerful than facts. The gold card persists not because of evidence, but because of belief communities that validate each other and dismiss contradicting information. In the age of social media, these communities can grow faster and become more insulated than ever before. Here's the warning I'll leave you with: the gold card scam is a symptom, not the disease. The disease is a financial system that millions of Americans feel is rigged against them, and in many ways, their intuition isn't wrong. When people feel powerless and excluded, they become susceptible to narratives that promise them hidden power and secret knowledge. The real question isn't why people believe in gold cards. It's what kind of society creates conditions where this belief becomes attractive in the first place. If you found this video valuable, do me a favor. Share it with someone who might be vulnerable to these schemes. Financial education is one of the best defenses against fraud. And if you want to dive deeper into how financial scams operate and how to protect yourself, subscribe. We've got a lot more to uncover. The scam might be absurd, but the people falling for it, they're not stupid, they're desperate, and that should concern all of us.